phenomenal day. Honey, I have my moon cycle, so I'm in a bed, girl. Okay. I had drunk me some tea a few minutes ago, and yeah, so I'm in a bed. I wanted to do a video about this whole here concept. Earlier, I was reading Dr. Joseph Murphy book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and that book is one of the tools that I use to look over my life and to understand that I have the power and the ability to go in a direction. But first becoming aware of the tape that's going on in my subconscious mind, right? And that book, along with also the book by Vernon Howard, The Mystic Path to Cosmic Power, or The Cosmic Power to Mystic Path, or something like that, right? Those two books have been phenomenal tools and my here life journey. Okay. One of the things I'm going to say is this: life is not complicated. It's not. It really isn't. What tends to be complicated is the lessons that we tend to get from life. But life itself is not complicated. Is when we don't get the lessons, is when we are not in harmony with the laws of this here universe, and God's source is not doing it, was occurring or was allowing certain things to show up in our lives, whether it's sickness, whether it is toxic relationships that we may have experienced. It is our perception. Okay. And I'm gonna share a few examples with you guys. So when I was in my a relationship, I remember I wasn't a real big fan of a guy buying me flowers, but if he brought me flowers, of course, I would be like, "Oh my goodness, my boo, my man brought me some flowers, right?" Um, but I wasn't, and I think a lot of this comes from, what society tells us, what to expect or what is deemed as love or whatever it is, right? And so instead of me wanting a guy who I was in a relationship to buy me flowers or things like that, and I'm not saying, like, oh, well, if he brought me flowers, I would never. But what I'm saying is, if you tend to look for other people to do things for you that you are more capable or you are willing to do for yourself, then sometimes our feelings become hurt because it's like we want these people to do stuff. And if they don't do it, then we get upset. But it's the same as that concept of why don't you do it for yourself, right? And so I started doing things for myself that I wanted other people to do for me. So whether that was me getting in the mirror, telling myself how beautiful I am, how phenomenal I am, how kind I am, how smart I am, how sexy I am, okay, how bright I am, okay, how loving, how kind, how generous, how patient I am. And I started doing the things that I once would have hoped others may have done for me. See, everything is about perception, okay? And what I start understanding, even this, about a month ago, right? Well, this month, okay, my birthday, right? September the 15th it was. And I felt some type of way, right? Because I felt like, my children, especially my oldest children, I felt some type of way because I was like, they could have brought me a card or something, for my birthday or whatever it was. And I started going back and thinking like, oh, over the years, because my oldest son is 20 and my oldest daughter is 17. She about to be 18. And I was thinking about all the times where as though I purchased them things for their birthday and times when I didn't necessarily probably have it, but I made a way to, do the things. And that is like really, when we do stuff, and whether it's we don't have the time or we don't have the funds, and we still sometimes go against ourselves because we like, well, I want my children to see that, I was there for them. I want my children to see this or see that or whatever it was. Instead of possibly saying, well, right now I don't have it or whatever it is, or even putting yourself in debt, just so I guess you could feel good about yourself, or just so your children could appreciate you getting the gifts or whatever it is, right? So this morning, as I'm reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind, I also was watching a content creator who I've been watching. I took a few of her courses, and I was, looking at her content, and one of the things she talked about was love, and how for so long, like, she wanted love and she was willing to do anything for love. And I think a lot of times, when we hear somebody else's story, we become judgmental, and oftentimes we don't even pay attention to the times where as though we may have done those same exact things, right? And so as I'm listening to this content creator story and stuff like that, one of the things that I started understanding is, and I started going back to my own life, and even far as my birthday, I started saying, well, Dina, if you wanted, your children to do all those things, right? Your birthday and stuff like that, even buy you a card or whatever it is the situation or scenario was, why didn't you do that for yourself? Right? That's oftentimes the question, like, why don't you do it for yourself? Because this is one of the things that I understand, and I'm understanding, and I know nothing about nothing. I know my experiences and certain things that did not work in my life. But whatever it is that we want from life, the first person that we should look forward to giving us that thing, whether it's love, whether it is a gift, whether it is roses. The first person we should look towards to giving us that thing is self. I remember I had a mentor, okay, Bob Proctor, and I had took one of his I don't want to say courses, but I had took one of his programs, right? And I say this in a lot of my videos. And I remember when I took the program, and one of the things that he strongly, I don't know if you guys can see me, um, but I remember one of the things that he strongly advised was to get in the mirror and practice affirmations, right? Say your affirmations daily. Say them, every day. And look in each eye, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. And I remember me saying to myself, and at first feeling very uncomfortable because I didn't believe what I was telling myself. I didn't believe when I necessarily was saying that I am smart. I didn't believe that I was smart. When I was telling myself that I am bright, I didn't necessarily believe those things. And it all comes up from childhood, whether it was the people in my neighborhood who would say stuff, or whether it was a family member who may have said stuff, or whether it was, guys I dated who may have said stuff. And This is the thing. I really want somebody to get this so much to understand like every the power is within you, boo. The power is within you. Okay? No one can give it to you. Okay? I do these videos and I share my life with you guys, but I can't give it to you because the power is already within you. Okay? And what I started realizing was if I want different, I have to show up different. I have to have standards. I have to have values. I have to have boundaries. And that is coming from a place of me knowing my self worth. See, if you feel like you are worthless, then you won't have boundaries. You won't have standards. You won't have values because your perception of yourself is you don't matter. And so I'm going to need for you to understand you do matter. And these are some of the tips that I started implementing into my life, and the affirmations, the reading of books, the listening to other people's perspective, right? Whether it is through a documentary, whether it is me listening to a video on YouTube or listening to something on other social media platforms to understand other people, the psychology. And everything is based upon what's going on into our subconscious mind. Okay. So it's two levels to it, right? Is the conscious and the subconscious. And this is what I got from Bob Proctor. One of the things he said was the conscious is you can accept or reject. So when you was a child and you may have been called stupid, right? And you may have been called you may have been told you wasn't good enough. You may have been told you would never amount to anything. You may have been told you was slow. You may have been told that you was ugly. You may have been told that you could never do it. You may have been told that you would never amount to anything. You may have been told that you was a reject. You may have been told that you was just going to be in and out of jail like your mama or your daddy. You may have been told that you're not worth love. You may have been told all these different things, right? And so as you grow up, you accept it because is the repetition is what went on in a conscious mind. You didn't know how to reject it. So you accept it, right? Because you heard it so much and you start thinking, well, it must be some truth to this because I hear it so much, and you accept it. And so as you grow up, the people that comes into your life is just merely a reflection of how you see yourself, how you view yourself, that shadow side of you. Okay. The shadow side of you that you don't want people to know. The shadow side of you that you don't want people to see. The shadow part of you that you try to tuck away. That shadow part of you that, you tell your friends or you tell your family members, like, I'm not chasing him, but then you go behind everybody back and you chase him because maybe your family members or maybe your friends are going to say, why are you chasing him? You are so much better than that. But it's a part of you that don't feel or believe that you are better than that. It's a part of you that feel that you deserve this. It's a part of you that feels like because you was told when you was a kid that you don't deserve love. So now you feel as though you have to bend over backwards to get love. You may feel like you gotta buy this person. You may feel like you gotta have sex with this person when you don't want to. I know I used to do that. Like when I would be in a relationship, I would be so afraid, like not to have sex with the guy who I was in a relationship with. And it wasn't because, oh, I enjoyed the sex with the guy, But a lot of times it would be because of fear of if I don't have sex with him, he's going to go out and get it. And so life is not complicated. It's the lessons that we tend not to get from life that makes our lives complicated. And so the conscious mind, okay? The part of you that could accept or reject. So as you grow up, you start seeing these people that comes into your life. You start seeing the relationships that you tend to attract. You start seeing all these things. And you're not aware of it. You're not aware, like you think this is so you that you're not even aware that this is the person that you have become is programmed. Is the programmed you. Is the version of you that maybe your parents may have said, or society, or whoever. They just inflicted their wounds onto you. And so as you grow up, you're supposed to start questioning your reality. Let me turn the light on so you guys can see. You're supposed to start questioning your reality. You're supposed to start saying, why is my life going this way? What is it that I can do better? For so long, I didn't know, right? Like I didn't know. And majority of us, we don't know, right? Like we just go through life and we like, well, this is the way life is supposed to be. Or we say things like, God isn't gonna put anything on our plate that we can't bear. And the truth of the matter is that God is not putting that stuff on your plate. You are putting the stuff on your plate due to what others may have told you, due to other people's belief systems. And your belief system is nothing more than habitual thinking. Thinking the same exact thing each and every day. And that what turns your belief system into your reality. Okay? But it comes a point in time where as though you may become so frustrated with life. You done blamed everybody. You done did so much. You don't understand why you developing anxiety. You don't understand why you having these mental breakdowns. You don't understand why you want to off yourself. You don't understand why the relationships that you keep getting into, they never work. You don't understand why the job that you're on or the jobs that you done been working on, why they don't last. And it's for you to really look at your life and start saying, what can I do better? Or how could my life change? Because that's what I did. That's what I did. It was times in my life where as though once upon a time my nerves, they were so bad. Okay. I had let my mother come stay with me. And my mother, and I love my mother to the life of me. But growing up, my mother had a drinking problem. And I never really understood, like why my mother didn't have custody of me. Like, I know what I was told and things of that nature and stuff, but as a kid, you really don't understand it. The first thing that you start thinking like, well, maybe I wasn't lovable, right? Or maybe I could have did things better. Like you start blaming yourself. And so I know my mother did the best that she knew how to do. That's like one thing that I know because people cannot give you something that they don't have, or they don't believe they have. And so by me doing the work on myself and looking at how I raised my children, right? I could look at my mother and say, or I could look at myself and say, Dina, I forgive you. Or I forgive my mother, right? Because she did the best that she knew how to do. And so as me, right? I did the best that I knew had to do. But you create all these scenarios in your life and you start thinking, well, things could have been different. There's no accidents in this here universe. There's no coincidence in this here universe. And it's for us to start looking at our lives and saying, the belief system, how can I change it? And so growing up, some of the things my mother would do, she would make burgers, right? Like every Friday when I would go to my grandmother's house, like, I speak to my mother during the week because I was staying at my aunt house, my mother's sister house. And I would call my grandmother house and, speak to my grandmother and my mother. And my mother would always say, like, what do you want to eat? And I would say a cheeseburger because that's what I loved as a kid. And so my mother would always, that was her way of, showing me like, that she was thinking of me. That was her way of, I guess, like honoring that the request that I wanted, which was a cheeseburger. And so later on, I'm an adult now and I have my own place through, transitional housing. And then I'm on Section 8 and I have my own apartment. And so I allowed my mother to stay with me. And we would have like these altercations. Like if I said, Mom, don't smoke in here or don't do this or don't, you know, um, I guess she took it like as a form of, well, I'm your mother or whatever it was. I don't know. But I didn't understand that um by me giving my mother an ultimatum. And I didn't understand this until later on because I remember I had a friend of mine who me and him worked at the hardware store. And I shared to him, the situation, my mother living with me and stuff. And one of the things I said, I gave my mother an ultimatum in order for her to live with me, like she can't drink, right? And he was like, well, that could be your mother could have some type of resentment towards you because if she been doing this habit, drinking for so long, and then you just, you know, sort of tell like now you can't do this, making her quit cold turkey, like, she could have some type of resentment. Whatever. So fast forward, I didn't understand you know, a lot of times in life we think that we are battling like our parents per se, and not battling them, but like, oh well, I'm having altercations with my mother, I'm having altercations with my father, whatever. But it's not necessarily that, it's really the belief systems. And I didn't understand this back then. Like, here I am, right? And I'm telling my mother she can't drink because of course I have two children. And I'm like, you can't drink in here, whatever it is like that. And is like, all right, well, in order for me to be able to stay here, then I can't drink. And then we would just have like these altercations and I never like I would think and I would be, feeling so frustrated, like my nerves would be feeling some type of way. I would be crying and crying and crying. And I'm not saying this like victim, but I'm saying this because I want you to understand you have the power and the right to change your damn life. And you don't need no one permission. You don't need no one permission to change your life. And I didn't understand it. And so I remember I would call my family members and I would tell them, what was going on. And they would probably talk to my mother or whatever it is, or talk to me or whatever. And I just felt like I gotta go through this because God wouldn't put anything on my plate that I can't bear. So I have to take this. I have to go through this. And I remember I started going to a psychologist, and at the time I was also messing with a married man. Okay, all about self worth, how you see yourself. How you see yourself is what's showing up in your life. And so, since I seen that, I have to settle. Since I felt like, this is the best I can get, since I felt like this person could be necessarily my security, right? Far as money and things of that nature. Since I felt that way, that's what showed up in my life. Everything is just a reflection and demonstration of how we see ourselves and how we are showing up. And the people that comes into our lives, they just reflect back to us exactly how we truly necessarily feel about ourselves. And so I started going to a psychologist, getting medication because it was so unbearable. The mental breakdowns that I would tend to have. And something felt off though, right? Like, I was working at the hardware store and I just felt like I gotta take this in order to cope. Like it just to me it just felt unreal. It felt like this don't make sense, right? I got to take medicine in order to cope with life. It was almost like putting a band-aid on a open wound that was gushing out blood. Like, and me just keep on trying to put band-aids on. And to the person that's out there, if you take medication, um, I'm not saying not to take it. You do what works for you. But this was my reality. And I had started seeing things wasn't making sense. And so from all of that, remember the conscious mind, right? Is what I have accepted, is what I believed about myself. And so it was part of me that always felt something was off, especially when it came to working. Like you just alive to work and pay bills, or that God is up in the sky judging you, or that you have to buy things in order for people to like you, or for you to get validation from outside. I was a big person when it came to seeking validation outside, dressing a certain way, looking a certain way. I felt like it had to come from outside. Okay. And um going through all of that, right? Going through all of that, going through the mental breakdowns and going to the psychologist and getting pills and medications and all these different things. And I will always have this epiphany when I went to the bathroom and I knew something wasn't right. I didn't quite know what was off, but I knew something wasn't right. And I remember hearing Miss Yana Van Zandt talk about this, and I remember, fix my life, and I always was drawn to, fix my life or whatever it was. And I remember hearing her say, "You have to do the work," and I used to be saying, "What work? What work this damn lady talking about?" And the work is the self work on yourself. It's changing your belief systems, right? And as you become an adult, you now have choices. It was their fault for, whatever it is, telling you, that you wasn't gonna amount to anything, you was stupid, or they fault for not being in your life, or they fault for, telling you that you will never amount to anything, but it's your responsibility to do the work on yourself. And I didn't know from my mental breakdowns that I was having that it was pushing me into my purpose. I didn't understand it. And so going through that, and I remember hearing my mentor Bob Proctor speak. And one of the things he said it's two parts. It's the conscious part and the subconscious part. The conscious part of the mind is the part of you that could accept or reject. The subconscious is you automatically accept it. Like, is if you allowed it to get past your conscious mind, and if somebody said, oh, all growing up, like, you stupid, you stupid, you stupid, and a part of you wasn't like, no, I'm not, right? Or a part of you probably was doing affirmations, then it never went into the subconscious mind of you having a belief system that you was stupid. And so when you start doing the work on yourself, when you start getting in the mirror and telling yourself, I am smart, I am kind, I am beautiful, I am phenomenal, I am loved, I am patient, I am courageous, I am brave, I am bright, I am beautiful. When you start telling yourself these things, just like when you was a kid, the repetition that you was able to so-called learn about yourself, right? Then you need to reprogram your mind. You need to start putting those things that you want to attract back into your subconscious mind. And it's not, oh well, I do it one day, that's it. This is an ongoing thing. This is, and some of us who have had spiritual awakenings at times, I know I thought, oh well, I had my spiritual awakening, everything is just gonna be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. No. Life doesn't, so to speak, get easier, is you get better. You get better. Because there's certain tools you start using for you to change your perception and to understand that life is actually working for you, not against you. Even far as like the relationships that I would entertain, and they was abusive. And I remember one time telling my brother from my mother's side, my oldest brother, and I would say, I think it's love when a guy hits you. And I said, I want somebody that's gonna hit me. And he was like, that sounds so stupid. But it was the programming that I seen as a kid. It was me seeing my father beat on women. And the women go back and say that they love my father. Not realizing that because of the woman that my father was dating or messing with, they was addicts. They had addictions. And so if it was for them to get the next fix or hit or whatever it was, that they was willing to do or tolerate whatever it was because their perception. So the same thing with my perception. I had to change it. I had to start working on my perception. And so the good thing about life is this, that we all have the ability to change our lives. And it's not going to come from you feeling victim. It's not going to come from you feeling like poor old you. You're not going to be able to change your life based upon that perception. But you can change your life based upon, I am a creator. What I've been through, I had to go grow through. What I've been through, it was something to help me so I can help others. Or so that I can, so others By me sharing my journey and my story, other people don't have to feel left out. Other people don't feel like they're not relatable. Other people don't have to feel like, something is wrong with them. By me sharing my life and my journey and how I'm doing the work on myself, and me being authentic and transparent, it allows, when I'm sharing, other people could look at their lives and say, you know what, I could change my life. I don't have to stay the same. I don't have to stay stuck. I don't have to stay stagnated. And so understand that life is not complicated. Is the laws of this here universe that governs our lives. And if you are going against the laws of the universe, then that's when you have disease. That's when you have heartbreaks. That's when you have, poverty or whatever it is, because you're going against the laws of the universe. And I never understood that until I started doing the work. Because if you really want your life to change, I'm telling you, you have the ability to do so. You may not know exactly how your life is going to change. You may not know when it's going to change. You may not know um, what's the next step to do for it to change. But I guarantee you, if you put it out, and how I put it out, I will always have these epiphanies and say, so because something just fell off, I will question my reality, not in a sense where as though, like, I would say, I know I ain't come here for this. It was just a knowing. Like, I just felt I did not come here for this. And at that time, this here, or I didn't come here for this, was me working and paying bills and then allowing people to do and say any and everything that they wanted to me, because I felt like a part of me couldn't speak up, couldn't say anything, because who gave me the right? And when I started realizing I was doing a disservice towards myself, dishonoring myself, and I needed to do things that I wanted other people to do. Whether that was my inner child. What did you want them to do when you was a child? Show up. You could show up for you now. You have the ability and the power, and you are capable to show up for that little girl inside of you. And how do you do that? By honoring your boundaries, by setting in place your boundaries, by speaking up about things that is a absolutely positively no, by having standards, by having values, and by doing the things that works for you. That's how. So life is not complicated. Is when we don't get the lessons from life that life is showing us. That's when it becomes complicated. So to the person that's out there, if you feel life is complicated, understand that in that silence, right, when you alone meditating, and I encourage meditation, because when you are alone and you still, you can hear source. You can hear what's the next step. You can feel your intuition, that gut feeling. You can hear what you're supposed to do. And sometimes it may come, like this when you meditate. And I know mine's, it was times where I meditated and our eggs put out Well, why I go through this, with my oldest son. And one of the things that came right back to me, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, three something in the morning, something came right back to me because you controlling. And so if you want your life to become better, see that you deserve better. And everything that's showing up in your life, from your relationships all the way to the jobs that you keep on working at, is all a correlation to how you see yourself, how you view yourself, how you value yourself, how you show up for yourself. And it is your responsibility to change your life. Nobody else can do it. It's your responsibility. If you say you want a better life, then you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to do the work and understand that you deserve better. You're going to have to do the work and go back and see, when you first developed their ideology, their, belief system. Oh, you wasn't good enough or whatever. It's for you to do the work and start understanding that you are good enough. You are worthy enough. And you are those things because you're here. Point blank. Because you were created. But because you are here. Not because of the job, not because the color of your skin, not because the amount of money in your account, not because you married or you have children or your religion status. None of that matters. None of it. Not because you have so many degrees on your wall that you can't even fit another one. None of that matters. What matters is you knowing that you are worthy because you're here. That's it. And so, with that being said, I love you guys. I love you. I love you. Make sure you guys rocking out, believing in yourself. Do understand you have the willpower and you are more than capable to change your life. You first change your perception. And at first, what I started doing, I was sick and tired. I was so sick and tired. I was sick and tired of just living a life that felt it felt like I was like a hamster on a wheel, just doing the same thing and accepting the same and being the same. That was really it. Me being the same and then accepting the same. And I just wanted better. I wanted better. I was so eager for change, so eager to get different. I was so eager for it. And I didn't know how that was going to show up. I didn't know what I was going to do and until I meditated and didn't even damn know if that was right. But I was so eager to stick to it because, I done heard people say, you know, meditation is so beautiful. Meditation is really you being still, not you stopping your thoughts, so to speak, but you being still and being an observer. And I was just like so eager, so eager. I was willing to do anything to change my damn life. And from me meditating and getting it down low, get people, make videos, get people out the matrix. I didn't know if I really heard that or if that was just, and even saying it like, right, get people out the matrix. Like, what does that look like, right? And make videos. And when I first started making the videos, I just was like, oh, this is gonna be honky dory. This is just gonna be so good. I done had my spiritual way. Everything is good in the hood. Nope. That was not um that was not that it was not that part that Source was talking about. It was the part of me being very transparent, letting people know that I have not arrived anywhere, letting people know that I'm still growing, letting people know that I'm still relatable, letting people know that I do have the ability and the power to shape my reality, and that reality is an illusion, right? And I have the ability to shape my reality by changing my belief system. Things that do not work or do not serve me, I always have the ability to change it. I have the ability to change my perception. I have the ability to change who I am. I have the ability to grow, to evolve. I have the ability to do the work. I am more than capable. I am more than worthy. I am more than deserving. It was that part. That part. And so, with that being said, I love you guys, and I catch you guys on the next one.